Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2. I'm out here in the garage. I literally just got home just a few minutes ago. It's been a super long day. I left the house this morning at 6:30 a.m. and it is now 5 minutes after 10 p.m. I literally just rolled in here to the garage and I'm tired and exhausted, but I had to make a video. And this Texas Gun Vault Garage Gun Talk video is going to be on NFA 101 and the difference between a stamp and an approved form, because I think it's really important that we talk about this. But I'm going to warn you right now, I'm going to whine, bitch, and complain about stupid and ignorant gun owners. And some people don't like that about my videos, but ignorance and stupidity, especially willful ignorance, drives me absolutely bonkers and hurts my head. And that's what I'm dealing with today. So if you don't want to hear me complain, this is your chance to click away from the video. You don't have to watch it. You can watch on the next video where I talk about, a gun or something that I'm going to be reviewing, okay? So this isn't for you. But I want to talk about NFA 101, the difference between stamps and approved forms. So I know something that probably bugs the heck out of a lot of you guys is when you're listening to an anti-gun politician talk about, let's say, a magazine capacity limit law, and they use the word clip, like Joe Biden. Who needs 100 rounds in a clip? We all roll our eyes because we know that there's a difference between a magazine and a clip, okay? They do similar things, but they're not the same. And we get frustrated with them because we know that they are so stupid and ignorant that they are unwilling to actually learn about the items that they want to ban. They don't even want to use the correct terminology. They don't show us the respect, the basic decency of respect to go, I'm going to learn about this item that I want to ban or regulate. I'm just going to throw out these terminology and these terms and things that makes me sound like an idiot. Okay, it frustrates us, right? You all know what I'm talking about. One of the big misconceptions in the world of NFA is that the form that you get to either make or to transfer an NFA firearm is a tax stamp. I hate that word now. I'm getting a little bit tired of it because everyone says the stamp. The stamp, which this one right here is on one of my forms, is proof that you paid the tax. Now, when you transfer a silencer, short-barreled rifle, short-barreled shotgun, destructive device, or machine gun, you pay $200. When you transfer a AOW and any other weapon, it's a $5 transfer. And when you make any of those items, with the exception of machine guns, because you can't make a machine gun, it's $200. And so when you apply for that form, you either fill out a Form 1 or Form 4, and you get it back approved, they are going to affix a stamp when you pay a tax. Now, there are some forms where you do not pay a tax. One of them is this one right here. This is a Form 5, a tax-exempt transfer application. And what this could be used for is, for example, if you own NFA items, whether they be in a trust or you're an individual, you pass away, you have willed your guns to somebody, you file this form with the NFA branch, you send a copy of the will or other supporting documents for whatever type of transfer you're requesting, and they will approve it or disapprove. But most of the time they're going to approve it, and you don't pay a tax. And because you don't pay a tax, you don't get a stamp. Now, this Form 5 was used for a repair. So this form right here was originally for a Special Weapons 5 MP5 clone. It was originally a 16-inch barreled rifle that I wanted to turn into a short-barreled rifle, so I filed the Form 1. I paid the $200 tax. I got the approval. I did some work on it, and I had to send it off because there were some things I just couldn't do to investment-grade firearms, which at the time was in Arkansas. And because it was going to go across state lines, I probably wasn't going to see the gun for about 4 or 5 months. I filled out a Form 5, essentially telling them I'm going to transfer this to an SOT, and it's going for essentially gunsmithing repair services is what it was. And they approved it. So now this form is irrelevant. This form now is not proof of my ownership or the creation of that gun. So this is what became important. So it got transferred to investment grade firearms. When they finished the job, he Form 5'd it back to me. And if you notice, once again, there is no stamp because no tax was paid. Now, if somebody wants to have, or if an ATF officer wanted to have proof of my ownership of that firearm, when I still had it because it was destroyed, as I told you in yesterday's video, and that was what has to do with this form. He sent it back on this Form 5 from investment grade firearm. So now this is the last form that dealt with the transfer of that firearm. So I would not give this form to show an ATF officer I would show this one with the approval of a tax-exempt transfer to me. This was the last document that I got showing proof of ownership and transfer. So the commenter on yesterday's video told me that I was an idiot because he said, you didn't get an approval for your amnesty registered brace pistol, and all the people are stupid. Because they didn't get a stamp. They just got a list of conditions. And I was like, listen, back in 1968, when they passed the Gun Control Act and they had the machine gun amnesty trying to get in all the guns that were like World War II trophies, they didn't offer stamps because nobody paid a tax on those. And I know people go, you're an idiot. Yes, they did. They got stamps. I can prove it. Now, remember, you don't have to believe me. And a lot of people aren't going to believe me because this channel only has, 3,000 subscribers? So don't believe me. I'm going to tell you where you can go to see the proof. You probably are like, well, I'm only going to trust the big gun YouTubers because they're popular. They have so many subscribers. They must be right. Well, go check out Ian of Forgotten Weapons. He did a series on both the amnesty registrations of 1968, and he's done a couple of videos on amnesty registered machine guns from that era. One was an M16A1 that even had the serial numbers filed off the gun, but it was amnesty registered in 1968. And what makes that gun so special and so valuable is not that it's a machine gun, not that it's a transferable M16A1, it's that it has the original amnesty registration documentation showing the provenance of the original person that registered it. It's really cool. And you can go and see it, and Ian shows the document that you can see how they amnesty registered it. You can see the form, you can see the approval, and guess what that form does not have? That's right. It doesn't have a stamp. It doesn't have a stamp because no tax was paid. Now, as I said, I know this kind of blows people's mind because people are stupid, and I'm sorry, I'm going to use that word because you try to educate them in a respectful way and they refuse to accept the knowledge. Even if you say, please go look at this primary source, go look at this secondary source, here's the information. Don't believe me, go do your own research so you can feel better that you didn't learn it from me. You learned it from somebody else that maybe you respect, you like, or from the primary source of the actual law. But nope, they don't want to do that. It drives me absolutely bonkers. It's just willful ignorance. And they told me again how stupid I was because all forms have to have a stamp. They're not going to give you a stamp if you didn't pay a tax. Now I know. I said that, a lot of people that are talking about this stuff and don't understand it, they get their information from YouTube channels that essentially try to condense very complex issues down into very simple things. And they're clickbait, and they misrepresent things, and I understand the nuance of the law can be very, very complicated for people that don't look at it, don't study it, don't want to read about it. I get it. It's boring. It's so freaking boring. I totally get it. But nerds like me geek out on this stuff. And people, as I said, that have no experience in NFA are all of a sudden effing NFA experts, right? Oh, every form has to have a stamp. You have to do that. Well, if you're so sure, why don't you actually go out and learn about it? Why don't you become a firearms attorney? But of course they don't. But you know what? Sometimes I have to kind of prove my bona fides. But as I said, please don't believe me. But please don't believe me. People act like I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. There's a few things in life I know what I'm talking about, okay? And I get passionate about it. And it's okay if people don't believe me, don't trust me. I will always be happy to send them where they can find the primary sources. And it's up to them at that point if they want to learn on their own. But I know something about the NFA system. I mean, here's my little folder that I keep all of my NFA forms in, my Form 1s, Form 4s. I've already showed you one here. I also keep all of my, I took them out here, but all of my trust documents. So I've done things as an individual. I've done things as a trust. And so let's just kind of see if I have any experience in the NFA world. So I have my little book of tax stamps here. Some of these I said are Form 4, some of them are Form 1s. I've done short-barreled rifles. I've done short-barreled shotguns. I've done a destructive device. I've done both physical forms where you submit them in hard copy. I've done the e-file system. I've done them when you had to get a chief law enforcement officer's signature. I've done them when you didn't. I've done everything that you can think of. I've done as an individual. I've done as a trust. And so as you can see, I kind of know something about the NFA world. Like, I've done this once or twice, okay? As the saying goes, it's not my first rodeo, right? So as you can see, I'm just flipping through this, and I have done this quite a few times. So maybe I actually know something about this because I might geek out on it. And this might be something that I'm extremely passionate about. So there you go. I'm not doing this to show off. I'm just doing it to say I might know something. And I don't understand why, when it comes to certain things, as I said, you don't have to believe me. Okay, that's not what bothers me. It's when I say, oh, you don't believe me? Go check this out. Here's the primary source. Here's a secondary source. Here's the law. Here's a Google web page about it. Here's photos of the original amnesty registrations from '68. And here's videos on Ian, because obviously you're a starstruck person. It's only going to get your information from somebody that's super popular and all that. And they still don't believe me. God, that hurts my head. Hurts my head so much. Oh, man. And by the way, I know this is a side note. Here's the form that I submitted when it came to removing that SW5 off of the NFA registry. This is the document that I wrote up, signed it, sent it to them, and I got it back. It says, requested adjustments made to the National Firearms Registration and Transfer Record from the chief of the NFA on the certain date. And anyway, so I just wanted to show that not every form has to have a tax stamp. A tax stamp is different than an approved form. All that matters, regardless if it has a tax stamp or not, is that it is approved. That is documented down here. It is signed by an ATF examiner, and it's dated, and it also has a, what's it called? A NFA, control number, or an ATF control number. I'm trying to find it on this one. Yeah, it's up here at the top. These were stamped, I think, on the new ones that are e-file. It's kind of electronically put on there. So you got to have the control number, you have to have the approval, and the examiner's signature. If you have that, you're good to go. It doesn't matter if it has a stamp or no stamp. That's all that matters. And it's fine if you don't believe me. But as I said, you guys can go out and do your own research, which I beg you to do. Do not believe me. Do not believe me. Don't get your information from me. Don't do it. Because if you have an ego and go, I'm not going to be told that I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, go do your own research, go find it, so you can say, well, I didn't learn it from Jason at the Texas Gun Vault. I found it myself. That's fine, okay? I don't want the credit, okay? I just want to educate people, because when you're dealing with NFA stuff, come on. We all know this can be a serious problem if you're caught in violation of the NFA, right? $250,000 fine, 10 years in jail. So I think it is really important that we actually are very specific about our terminology. We're very specific about understanding the law. We understand the law in its entirety, and that we educate others so they don't run afoul of the law. Don't you think that would be the responsible thing to do as a firearms owner that deals with NFA stuff? Right? That seems to be the responsible thing to do, because I care about my fellow gun owner. I don't want them to get in trouble. But if they want to be willfully ignorant, that's perfectly fine with me. My conscience is clean because I did the very best that I can do. But a lot of these people that think that they know it all don't even own a single NFA item because they watched, I don't know, The Armed Scholar once or twice, or saw somebody talk about that they like, and they don't understand the difference. And those people even interchangeably use the word stamp and form. Stamp does not mean approval. The form is the approval. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to say. I think I got it all off of my chest. But anyway, sometimes I think people need to understand in the GunTube world, and I guess just life in general, that just because somebody is popular and has a lot of subscribers does not make them an expert or have the right information, or means that their content or information that they're giving out is better than somebody else. I'm reminded of it's kind of like a famous literature trope where you'll have an unassuming character that actually is like the grand master of what you're trying to learn. You're going along the path and there's this unassuming person, right? Yoda in Star Wars is a good example when you watched Empire Strikes Back the first time. Or if you're a Star Trek fan, if you know the story of Jean-Luc Picard, his true mentor at Starfleet Academy was not one of his professors or a fellow captain that he learned from. It was actually the gardener at Starfleet. At the Starfleet Academy, the guy that really had all the wisdom and knowledge and wasn't a teacher, but taught him what was important. Same thing if you like medical dramas with House. You guys know the one that started Hugh Laurie, Greg House, the famous diagnostician. He talks about in one of the episodes why he became a diagnostician, and he was talking about at medical school, when they couldn't figure out what was wrong with a patient, there was this guy that was like the janitor that they went to, and he came in and he could solve the case. You're like, why the janitor? It turned out that he had a medical degree from another country that the United States wouldn't recommend, but he was a medical genius. But the only thing he could do when he migrated to the U.S. was he could only be a janitor, but he worked at this hospital. But everyone knew he was the brilliant one. He was the one that could solve it, but he couldn't actually physically do anything. All he could do is help others. He could just give them advice. So the real brilliance was not the doctor, wasn't the head of the hospital. It was the janitor, So anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about tonight. I just want to get this off my chest. So I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and sorry for the rant. So, as always, thanks for watching.